Another day, another banner in Grand Summoners. This time, getting the bewitching Vixen Kokuri. That is a title. Yep, that's all I can say about that. That's definitely a title. I don't know if anyone was necessarily like super excited for this unit. Maybe some people like really like her design or her animations. But I will say the banner is something to be pretty excited for, especially if you're newer to the game. But before we talk about the banner, as always, let's go into what Kokuri is doing and if she's good or not. So Kokuri is kind of the sub-attacker. She's pretty self-sufficient because she does give herself art gauge on the skill. On the art, you reduce enemies' crit res by 100%. Also increase the damage that they take, which is multiplicative debuff. That's really good since you also pretty much giving your team the chance to crit against that enemy, so lots of damage just from that art. The true art's reducing the enemy's fire res by 30% times the number of fire units on your team. So if you have a full team, then that means 120% fire res down. And the super art is buffing up all allies' crit damage by 200%, which she does not actually have crit rate in the kit, but she does have crit res down, which means everyone will be able to crit just with her being on the team, which is amazing. In terms of her abilities, she has her main ability, which is called Phantasm Reborn. All allies take 20% less magic damage when own HP is 50% or more. This probably won't come up too much, to be honest, like because you're not always fighting a magic boss, but whenever you are, you know it's going to be useful. She does also have skill CT when near death, which I don't see why, because she doesn't want to be at near death because of her passive, and she also have all stats up for demon characters on the team, which in mono fire at the current moment, there are no demon characters that you're going to use this girl with. So that's cool. I mean, literally the best mono fire characters are all human. So, yeah, it's only going to be benefiting herself. But yeah, Kokuri is kind of interesting. Her modifiers and stuff are really low, so she's like really pushing for this supporting sub-attacker role and being like the main star of the show. The crit damage buff she applies is very solid. It's 200% up. The only other character in the game that we have on global at the moment that does a 200% crit damage buff is Ainz, if I'm not mistaken, and that is only if you are a dark unit. There may be another character that I'm just not remembering right now that buffs up the entire team's crit damage by 200% or something like that, but I don't think so. I think it's only Ainz and Kokuri that actually can have that type of buff. There's also a lot of teams you can throw this hero on, and not just mono fire, you know, but just any team in the game. And also in raid nukes, you could use her as another way to just buff up your damage even more with her super art, giving you that 200% crit damage up. Not to mention too, her slots are pretty solid as well. She has the support and then 2 magic slots, which always nice. And yeah, Kokuri has some uses. I don't think she's amazing though, just because she's lacking a lot of stuff to kind of like really push her to the next level. For the type of supporting role she's kind of going for, I would love this character to have some type of art shin in the kit, and that's one of like the worst things to be lacking in, especially for a unit of this style, because this type of character usually in most situations has art shin like tied to them. Because like for an example, I mean it's not the exact same, but it's like, okay, you got a 200% crit damage buff. Well, Evil Eye just came out and she gives a 200% magic damage buff, and she art shins while also applying damage res and everything else. So like you see what I mean? This type of kit design, this type of philosophy could have added some art shin in it. Somewhere they could have added like 4 arts per second, 3 arts per second, something like that. Just gave her something, some type of art shin to kind of help her support. But that's about like all the things I'll say. She'll be good if you need a crit damage buffer, or if you need a lower crit res on mono fire. You're gonna be able to get a crazy amount of fire res down, but apart from that, I don't think you're really gonna be using Kokuri too much. Now, one thing I do think you're gonna be using is actually her true weapon. This is a 20 art gauge up to the entire team, and then fire units get attack and damage 30% up. That is wild. It's pretty much a Rim and Ram plushie, which is amazing. Like, this is insanely good just for anybody to use. It's only 30-second cooldown. That's pretty standard for an equip like this. I would have loved it to have a bit more art gauge, maybe 25 arts, but that would have probably been pushing it to be like super insane. But yeah, it's definitely a very good true weapon that I would say some of you guys may want to consider picking up. Now, as for the rest of the banner, we have some bangers, man. Well, we have 2 characters that are some bangers on this banner. Let's talk about Kirisame. Kirisame is the tank. That's all he is. He is a absolute behemoth when it comes to tanking. He doesn't do any type of crazy damage. He has really cool artwork though, especially his regular 5-star art is one of my favorite artworks in the entire game. He gives himself 30 art gauge on the skill. He also reduces enemy burn res because he wants to burn the enemy if he can with like the art, or have another character burn the enemy, because if an enemy is burning, he takes less damage from him due to his passive that he has. But even if they're not burning, he's still going to get DR because he's going to have 30% DR just from his regular third eye. And then if you're in true third eye, he also gets 20% physical res, which is just absolutely ridiculous. It's so much damage negation, and then you factor in the super art, and the super art gives you this huge barrier while also cleansing damage res debuffs on yourself. That's the thing about this character. He can cleanse damage res debuffs, which is one of the main things that kills taunt tanks in higher levels. It's not that, oh, you don't have enough damage mitigation or whatever. It's the fact that bosses lower your damage mitigation, and Kirisame can just completely get rid of that with his super art. Literally in the newest fight that's currently in global, which is Uga, he does this. This is a mechanic that Uga does, but Kirisame says, yeah, I don't care about that, and he can cleanse all of them, and it's like it never even happened. The only negative that I see, which isn't necessarily a negative for everybody, but it is a really big negative, is that if you're a brand new player, and you get Kirisame, it's a huge dub, because now you have a taunt tank that is still going to be pretty good. He can still do his tanking stuff with his shoe art and everything, but you probably won't be able to ascend this character. He takes 220 summoner orbs. That is insane. For a new player, that's extremely daunting and almost a little bit impossible for a new player to achieve, at least in like the first month of playing, unless you're using like refreshes with crystals and everything on a summoner's road, which I would say Kirisame is definitely worth it, but I don't know in the long term if you would be really happy with that decision, just because it's like you're only using Kirisame in harder content and you won't be using him for like every other part of the game. If you're not a new player, of course you don't have to worry about that, but that is something you need to take into account. If you are a brand new player to the game, you won't be able to have Kirisame's full potential for a bit, just because you do have to go through Fire Summoner's Road. And not only do you have to go through it, you need to clear pretty far and also clear it a few times to have enough Summoner Orbs to actually ascend him. Apart from that though, man, Kirisame really doesn't have like any crazy negative. He's just a taunt tank. He's definitely like the best taunt tank in the game just because he's an ascended taunt tank, but all the taunt tanks are really good. Him, Thetis, Faulty LR, everybody. All just a big, nice, happy family, and the best thing that I can say about these units is they just work. Another character that actually was on a banner not too long ago, but he's back, and I'm actually really glad that he's back, and that is 12th Generation Mizuki. I don't know if this is going to be a theme going forward, that 12th Generation Mizuki is going to be on practically every single ninja banner that's for like this specific season of ninjas, but if he is, I'm completely down for it. 12th Generation Mizuki is a fantastic unit for all levels of play. If you're brand new, if you're old, does not matter. This guy is insane for you. Need a debuffer? 12th Generation Mizuki. Need to cleanse stats effects and buff up your stats res? 12th Generation Mizuki. Literally everything that you will ever need, 12G does it and more. Absolutely phenomenal character. I really cannot stress that enough. But now let's talk about if you should actually summon on this banner or not. And here's what I'll tell you. If you're brand new to the game, man, I'm talking about fresh out the gate, this banner is absolutely a must summon. Just because you don't have Kirisame, getting Kirisame will help you out so much. Even if you don't ascend him, just getting him and being able to have a taunt tank at your disposal will be extremely good. Sure, you cannot access his full potential, but you can pretty much have him, or whenever you can access his full potential, you ascend him and boom, you're not able to use him at his full strength, and he's just going to get even better as you progress in the game. 12th Generation Mizuki, absolute game changer. Art Shinner, cleanse, stat res buffer, physical res down, amazing. Literally one of the best awoken characters in the game, and since he is awoken, it's another huge benefit for all my new players out there, because you guys don't have to worry about doing Summoner's Road, which means you can just, you know, go get the awoken fragments, have your awoken souls, awaken this guy, boom, you have him. He's at full potential, get some good equips on him, and you're golden. You now can use him on any team in the game for the end of time. Just don't use him with other type F art shinners. Curri is probably the worst character you could pull on this banner if you're brand new, I will say. Next to like Shiki, because Shiki doesn't really offer you much, but at least she could be another character you could use for like Summoner's Road if you needed to. But Kokuri, she really needs her ascension to be, I feel like, extremely valuable. Apart from that, she still has offer like the crit res down and all that, but like at that point, she's pretty much just a nuke support character and not anything else. That's kind of what she is even while she's ascended. So yeah, if you're brand new to the game, highly recommend that you at least do a multi-summon. If you want to go deeper, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily bad, but I would say just a multi-summon and you're good for the most part. As for my veteran players, it's pretty much the same thing. If you don't have Kirisame and you don't have 12th Generation Mizuki, amazing banner just to at least throw a multi at. If you have 12th Generation Mizuki and you're missing Kirisame, I think it's still worth it just because Kirisame is an insane taunt tank. But if you already have taunt tanks that you love using and you don't mind using them, and it's like Kirisame, I feel like I don't really need them, then don't worry about them, right? Just don't even worry about it. But if you have Kirisame and you're missing 12th Generation Mizuki, I still believe it's worth trying to pick up 12th Generation Mizuki because he's going to come up where you're going to be like, damn, I really wish I had him for this specific quest or something just because he offers so much, man. If you want to pick up Kokuri, we already know. I mean, you're probably going to use her for like raid nukes and just random nukes with her super art. I doubt anyone like uses the rest of her kit for stuff, but maybe you will because the crit res down and everything is nice. But we already have an amazing fire crit res down character, and that's freaking Sunraku, and she can't really compete with him. So there's that. But ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much it for this video. Am I going to be summoning on it? Maybe, but I don't think we're going to be doing a summon video because if I do summon on it, I'll just be throwing a multi at it, hoping I get 12th Generation Mizuki, and that's it. But, I mean, hey, if you guys want to see a single summon and maybe an ALK summon for a YouTube video, let me know down below. I don't think all of us want to see that. That video is going to be like 2 minutes long, but, I mean, hey, if you want to see it, let me know down below. That's going to be it for this one. If you enjoyed this video, have me check out either one of the other videos popping on the screen right now. Great content, guarantee you love them. Oh, and one more thing before you leave, don't forget to drink water.